Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul and Screen. In this particular video, we will be picking up the conversation on soul ties as it pertains to various television shows, characters, and storylines. In this video, we're continuing the conversation with using Tyler Perry's sisters, the characters of Zach, Fatima, and the Karen situationship. So let's just get into it. At the last video, basically I had ended where Karen had told Zach that she was pregnant. Zach told her basically even depending on what you decide to do, I can't make you do nothing, but no matter what you decide, me and you not going to be together. So he just left it at that. He goes home and he tells Fatima. The very next day, so to speak, there's a woman that shows up at Karen's salon, and she's asking about Zach. Does Zach still live with you? And Karen's like, he don't live with me. I don't know where he at. And she looks very official. So she looks like she got something to do with the law. So Karen is already let me just kind of keep him safe and everything. That's kind of her mindset. And so basically she tells the lady she don't know where she can find him or anything. And so just leaves it at that. What she does as soon as the lady leaves is she tells Pam, I'm going to go over to Zach's and tell him. And Pam is like, don't go over there. Just call him. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to make sure I'm not tracked and followed. So she gets to Zach's. Zach is outside literally having a conversation with contractors because guess what? They're fixing up the homes that he's buying. He's buying a duplex type of a home, and they're fixing on it. So he's talking to him, and Karen walks up with an attitude, and she's like, clearing her throat. And so he turns to her, and he's like, what you doing here? And she's like, I need to talk to you. And he was like, why didn't you call me? And so she got an attitude, and she's like, well, I didn't want nobody to track me. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, basically we doing this, or you just going to start popping up at my house now instead of calling. And she's like, yeah, this is what we doing. Anyway, like I said, I was trying to keep this lady from following me or tracking my phone to get in touch with you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, this officer looking lady came over asking me questions about you and basically just, tripping on him. She's like, did you do something illegal to get this money? And he's like, no, I got this house and this money, legit. So just anyway, what you tripping for? Because me and you ain't together. And she's like, yeah, me and you ain't together, but we definitely got a baby on the way. And so he kind of shuts her down. He's like, pause with all that. I just don't feel like dealing with the drama. So you can go ahead and go with all of that. Give the lady my phone number if that's what you want to do. But we not about to do this. So then she goes, well, is you going to show me the house? Now, remember I said she just walked up while he was talking to a contractor and she see people walking in and out of his house. And so he's like, well, in all honesty, it's not safe to go in there, especially with you being pregnant and they hammering and got drilling and got dust and everything. And so she gets an attitude about that. And so she's like, you know what? He was like, I'm just trying to look out for you. She's like, you ain't trying to do nothing for me, Zach. You know what? And so she gets this attitude. And he's like, well, you know what? Do you want to go in there with all this dust floating around and everything? Let's go. And she's like, nah, I don't need to see nothing. And so she gets mad and she walks off. And so he's just frustrated because, you always got an attitude about something. You came to my house and you got an attitude because I don't want to take you in and it's not even ready, but we also not together. So I'm not obligated to show you this house. So anyway, fast forward into the season a little bit more. Karen has not told the girls that she's pregnant. She just told Zach and Aaron at this point. She tells Aaron that she's pregnant, but it's not his. And he's like, how you know? And she's like, it can't be yours. And he's like, Karen, the window was really closed. Now, remember, Aaron walked in on Zach and Karen having sex. And then he decided to sleep with her commando or, without being fully wrapped up or whatever, 7 days later. And so he knows the time frame versus Zach. Zach has no idea. He just going off of what Karen says. But Aaron knows the date. So he's like, I'm doing some calculations and I'm saying the windows seem to be too close. So you can't really say that this ain't my baby, for sure. And so she's like, Aaron, like I said, it is. And I just really don't want to talk about this. She got this attitude with him for asking correct questions. And so, she just got an attitude straight off. And so anyway, he's like, you know what? Fine. If that's what you want to do, just know I'll be here to help. But he leaves and she calls Andy. And she's like, I need to meet with you and the girls. Can you guys out? I got something to talk to you guys about. And so she's like, fine, I'll get the girls together. And then Karen is still trying to find out what this lady is looking for Zach for, about. So she calls Zach's phone, but Fatima answers it. And so Fatima's like, hello. And she's like, hello? Because, typically Zach answers his own phone. And so she's like, is Zach there? And so Fatima goes, no, he's not. Mouse is calling. And she goes, it's Karen. And so Fatima's like, oh, because remember, she just had a run-in with her. So she really ain't feeling her right now. She's like, no, but I'll let him know that you called. And so she was like, Karen was like, well, who is this basically? And Fatima told her the person who answered the phone. So she, was like, oh, Fatima? So Fatima is like, yeah. And she goes, oh, well, is he there? And she goes, no, he's not. And she goes, well, I don't know if I believe you. And Fatima like, excuse me? And she's like, Zach don't go nowhere without his phone. And so Fatima was like, well, let me tell you something. I don't know what Zach was doing when he was with you, but when he's with me, he ain't on his phone often. So, like I said, I'll let him know that you called. And so she get mad and she hangs up on Fatima. And Fatima immediately calls Zach and tell him what happened. Zach then gives her his code because, she's like, this was an accident. And he's like, nah, you did it on purpose. She's like, I swear I'm not. And she's like, anyway, just come get your phone. Because, you're not going to be able to get your messages or anything or your phone calls. And he's like, well, let me give you my code. And so he tries to get her to give, her code to him as well. So the cute little banter of them starting their relationship. But the fact is Zach gave Fatima the code to his phone because he's trying to let her know that he's in this and he wants to be open and honest and everything. So he's done that so far with Fatima. So since they've been committed. So he, gives Fatima the code, and it's go on a little further into the season. She finally meets up with the girls and tells the girls that she's pregnant, and that's why she's calling Fatima over. And they all like, well, first of all, Danny's like, is you gonna keep it? And who's the daddy? And so everybody looking at Danny like she crazy, but she asking the right questions because you just slept with Zach and Aaron a week apart. And so Karen get this attitude when Sabrina goes, oh yeah, that actually is a good question. And she's like, really, Sabrina? Like, obviously Zach is the dad. And I'm just trying to figure out why nobody didn't check her and was like, obviously, you do know that you slept with two dudes in a week. So ain't no obvious here, which is the reason why I asked the question. Because if it was some weeks in between them, then I possibly could have been like, oh, so-and-so to daddy. But this window is really small. So I love how, Danny pointed it out, but they just don't call her on enough stuff to me that I think, true friends and realistic conversations would. So again, no shade to the writers or anything like that. This is just how I would do it. And I understand timing is a factor. So they end up having to cut out a lot of stuff. So again, no shade to the writers, but I think I would have liked them to call her out on some things a little bit more. But anyway, so Danny goes, so wait a minute, you about to try to tell Fatima? And they're like, yeah, Zach probably ain't even told her. And so, she's like, yep, I'm going to ask her straight out. She needs to know what kind of man he is. So Fatima comes up and she gets in and she's like, Karen meets her at the thing. She's like, hey. And so she's like, what is this about? So Karen's like, come in. And so please have a seat, so she, Fatima's like, I'll stand, like, what's up? Like, tell me what's going on. And so Fatima, she stands up and her and Karen are like right across from each other. And Karen turns to her and she goes, I'm pregnant. And Fatima turns to her and smiles and goes, congratulations. And Karen goes, by Zach. And then Fatima goes, yeah, I already know. He told me. And so everybody is shocked because Zach told her. And so Danny is like, wait a minute, he told you? And Fatima goes, yeah. And she goes, yeah, as soon as you told him, Karen, she looked at Karen. She says, he came straight home and told me. And so now Karen is bothered because she rolling her eyes because she said as soon as he found out, he came home. Not he came over to my house. He came home, which lets her know that he is living with Fatima. So again, this ain't just no fly by night kind of, I'm talking to her just until me and you get back together type of situation. So anyway, So Fatima's like explaining all that, she's like, listen, Karen, like real talk, I understand what's going on with you and I get it. I kind of get your concern, but no matter what, if this end up being Zach's baby, I just want you to know that I'm not going to hurt him. And she's like, if she's like, it is. And so Fatima's like, if, and I think that's great that she said that too, because she's letting Karen know without putting her business out on the street, although the girls already know that I also know that Zach is not the only person that you slept with. And by her saying if, I want you to know that I'll be injecting if into my man's mind as well, because we don't know for sure if this is his baby. But she's letting her know her intentions, right? Like, we gonna want a DNA test, which she told her. She was like, I think we need to get a paternity test. And Karen, and she's like, yeah, not to say that, you lying or anything, but just to be sure. And so, so Karen has this attitude with Fatima and everything. And then she, basically, Fatima's like, well, I'm going to go ahead and go. And she's like, Andy goes like, Karen, and so she's like, okay, fine. So she tells Fatima, I'm sorry. Like, I really don't want to, I invited you over here because I want to hurt you. I wanted to hurt you. And, because she was earlier telling her, like, you better be careful because he called me every day and all this kind of stuff. And Fatima busted her bubble by telling him, like, well, obviously, I don't see your number in his phone. So I got his passcode. I don't see your number in there. So there's no, I don't see that he could be calling you and your number is not in either one of his phones. So she ends up telling Fatima that she's sorry, that she really only said all of that because she wanted to hurt Fatima. And then she goes, I'm not really mad at you. This is mostly about him. Now, let me put a pin here. She really shouldn't be mad at Fatima at all. Again, like I said, none of this is Fatima's fault. Fatima got with Zach after she broke up. Fatima decided to stay with Zach after he's been doing fine with her. So there's no reason for her to break up with Zach. And there's no reason for Karen to be mad at Fatima. But she's like, I wanted to hurt you. I wanted, I'm not really that mad at you. It's really mostly about me and him. But why are you mad? Like, we as women got to do better about that kind of stuff. Like, stop holding the woman who didn't know anything about this accountable for something and you mad at him. Now, the reason why she's not really taking this out on Zach is because she wants Zach back, right? So she can't really be mad at Zach as much as she wants to because she wants him back. And so she's like trying to get Fatima. She's really hoping that Fatima will back off. And what better way for her to back off is for her to tell Fatima that she's pregnant, because that was really not her business to tell Fatima. Like, it's Zach's responsibility to tell her, which he did. But she was hoping that by hearing it from her, it was going to scare and run Fatima off, and it didn't. And that is honestly one of the reasons I do believe that her lashing out and tantrums and cussing Fatima out escalated, because Fatima did not flee and Karen would have. You know what I'm saying? So she's like mad because basically Fatima is proving to be everything opposite of Karen. And she's seeing that Zach is obviously into that. So instead of really kind of owning it and just saying that we wasn't good for each other, like, she's just missing it. Like, they are nothing alike. They don't handle situations alike. They don't, lift up their man the same way or anything. There's nothing, similar about the way that Karen deals with Zach versus the way that Fatima dealt with Zach. So I know some people were I've heard a couple other people on different channels say that, there's some similarity that, Karen, that Karen was Fatima like early on in her and Zach relationship, but I don't believe that's true, because he basically told Fatima and he told Jake that he's never been with anybody like Karen, like Fatima before. He's never had a woman that speaks life into him. He's never been with somebody where there's no drama. There's just honesty and transparency. Like, he tells Jake this later on in season 4. But so anyway, I say that all to say is that I think she's seeing that there's no similarities. And so she's really kind of caught up on how can Zach be so in love so quickly with this woman and seeing that one of the reasons is because she's everything Karen's not. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then also being under the effects of this soul tie, which is basically the conversation that we're having, is it helps you, it stops you or assists in you like filling your delusions, fulfilling your delusions. There's no reason that Karen should be going off on Fatima. There's no reason that she shouldn't be believing what Zach says. Zach has told her multiple times that they're over. He has told her that it ain't nothing that you can do that's going to get us back together, including have this baby. And a couple of times she even agreed. She actually told him when he told her that even if she had the baby, they weren't going to get back together. She literally said, you have made this very clear. And so there's no, you see what I'm saying? Like, so she said that. And then the very next day she had his house going off on him, mad because and trying to figure out who this lady is. And it's none of her business. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, when you are under the effects of a soul tie, like when I tell you, you do the most irrational things. Because none of this makes sense. And if you talk it out and you really think it through, it doesn't make sense. There's no rhyme or reason for it outside of this is what she wants. And she, again, does not care about anything else. She doesn't care about any other person. She wants what she wants. Karen is actually, a lot of people always say that Zach is a man child. Karen is too. Karen is a brat. When I tell you, like Karen, the tantrums that she throws because Zach is not, coming over and he ain't showing her this, and she just goes over and she tries to manipulate and cry and make him say certain things. Like, those are things that children do. You know what I mean? So in any event, moving on, she goes back to Zach and basically tells him what's going on. A little further into the episode, she comes back over to Zach's house after having the conversation with Fatima, and they even tried to squash it and hang out for a little bit, which they did. She comes over to Zach's house again, talking about she needs to talk to Zach. And so Fatima's pulling up and she sees Karen sitting there and she's like, hey, Karen, like, what's up? And she's like, oh, I need to talk to Zach. And she's like, oh, well, come on. And she goes, well, no, I need to talk to him alone. And so Fatima's like, okay, well, go ahead. Pin here. Let's put a pin here. No, ma'am. There's no reason that you need to talk to him by yourself. You like a couple weeks pregnant. Whatever that's going to go down with this baby at this point involves me because me and him are together. So since the baby isn't here and it's not really something like, and I know, like, ain't no talking to him. But Fatima, again, being secure and here, is like not worried about it. And she's also not trying to cause any friction because she knows Zach is going to tell her anyway. So she's like, go ahead, you go first. And then Karen got an attitude. Nah, never mind. And so Fatima's like, what's the matter? She's like, I'm trying to be okay with all of this. Excuse me. And she basically gets an attitude and she's like, all this, how well he's doing and all that. And so Fatima's like, well, I'm not really sure what you mean. But like, she's like, I'm just trying not to be jealous of him and you. And I'm hoping that, I can get past it. But right now it's like really hard for me to get past the fact that how well he's doing. And like, why now out of all the time that me and him was together, he never did any of this. So why now? She kept bringing that up. And let me just put another pin here. Why now is partially because of your mom. Right? Like, everybody keeps forgetting that Miss Lisa is the one who introduced Zach to the guy who got Zach, told Zach about the Chain Breakers program and got him to the program, and where he met Fatima. He got his first initial payment and he put it on a stock. So a lot of this happened because Miss Lisa introduced him to this guy. So that's why now it didn't happen before. And another thing we need to understand, sometimes timing is just tiny, right? Like, there are certain things that are ordained to happen in our life and things like that at certain times and seasons. And this was just Zach's moment, and you just happen to be not in good with him at the moment. So in any event, we're going to go ahead and end this episode or in this video right then and there. So tell me, what do you think? Like that whole why now kind of thing, like, were y'all in agreement that it was like Miss Lisa who kind of helped and connected him with the chain breakers and kind of was the person that really kind of sparked everything that's going well for him? And then what do you think about her lashing out and throwing the temper tantrums and things like that to Fatima? So let me know what you think. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And I will be back with the next video as we get deeper into this soul tie conversation. Bye.